If you think betrayal starts with lipstick on a collar, you are wrong. Mine started at 3 in the morning with my hand inside my wife's purse, and what I pulled out was so cruel, so twisted, I stood in my own kitchen laughing like a broken man. Because inside that little gift box was not jewelry. It was proof. Proof that my wife was cheating. Proof that she thought I was weak. And proof that by morning, our marriage would never be the same again. I have always been a light sleeper. Maybe that comes from being a mechanic. When you work around engines long enough, you learn to hear trouble before the explosion. A weak knock, a strange shake, a sound that says something important is about to break. That night, lie in our giant bed that cost more than my first car, I listened to my wife breathe beside me and knew something was wrong. Her name was Celeste now. At least that was a woman in my bed. The wife I used to know felt gone already. She had been coming home later and later ever since she started her new job at a big PR firm downtown 6 months earlier. Client dinner, she would say every time. Then she would lean down and kiss my cheek with lips that tasted like wine, mint, and lies. That night, she came in at 2:30 in the morning. She kicked off her heels, dropped her expensive bag on the chair, and slid into bed smelling like some man's cologne that definitely was not mine. I kept my eyes closed and pretended to sleep, but inside I was wide awake. My head was pounding. Stress headaches had become part of my life the same way rent and taxes were. Quiet, constant, ugly. I waited until her breathing slowed, then slipped out of bed and padded to the bathroom for pain pills. The medicine cabinet was empty except for face creams and little jars with French names that cost more per ounce than gold. Celeste never forgot her creams. She forgot me all the time. Then I remembered seeing a bottle of pain relievers in her purse downstairs. I walked into the kitchen wearing old boxers and a faded gray t-shirt. The house was dark except for the soft light under the cabinets. Her purse sat on the marble counter like a trophy. Designer leather, hand-stitched. $2,000 for a handbag she called an investment piece. I unzipped it, thinking only about finding pills and getting back upstairs before my thoughts got ugly again. My fingers touched receipts, lipstick, mints, a pen, a hotel key card. Then they closed around something small and hard. I pulled out a tiny gift box wrapped in fancy paper with a silk ribbon. There was a tag. For my darling Celeste, to remember what you've been missing. Love, C. Not Q for Quinn, her husband of 8 years. C. I should have put it back. I know that now. I should have closed the purse, found another way to handle the headache, and let my marriage die slowly like a coward. But curiosity does not just kill cats. It kills peace. It kills sleep. It kills whatever little hope a fool still has left. So I opened the box. Inside, wrapped in white tissue paper like some sick joke from a very rich child, was a plaster mold of another man's private part. Detailed, carefully made, professional, not some joke from a party, not some cheap prank. This thing took time, money, and the kind of effort a man makes when he wants another woman to remember him every time she opens a drawer. I just stared. My brain did what it always does when I am shocked. It started working like a machine. Clean lines, good mold, expensive casting kit, smooth finish, careful detail. Whoever made it had either paid well or practiced a lot. Then I found the note under it. This will remind you of a real man, something you've never had. Can't wait for our weekend in the mountains. Carter. I knew the name. Carter Vale, the hotshot tech CEO from the business pages. Young, rich, smiling in expensive jackets beside headlines about innovation and leadership. The kind of man people call brilliant when they really mean arrogant. The kind of man who walks into rooms already expecting a room to love him. I stood there in my kitchen holding proof that my wife had chosen another man, and I felt something settle inside my chest. Not rage. Not yet. Something colder. Something careful. I looked down at my wedding ring. White gold. Plain. Not flashy. Celeste had wanted me to upgrade years ago after her career took off. She said the simple band looked too small for our lifestyle. I said I liked it because it had history. She rolled her eyes and called me sentimental. Without even thinking, I slipped the ring off my finger and slid it onto the plaster mold. It fit perfectly around the base. Perfectly. For 1 second, my whole body went still. Then I laughed, not because anything was funny, because the whole thing was so ugly, so absurd, so cruel. That laughter was the only sound that came out. There I was at 3 a.m, barefoot in my kitchen, holding another man's plaster pride with my wedding ring wrapped around it like some sick engagement gift. I re-wrapped the box very carefully. I placed it back in Celeste's purse with the ribbon neat, and the note tucked exactly the way I found it. Then I went upstairs, climbed back into bed beside my sleeping wife, and stared at the ceiling until morning. I did not sleep for a second. I listened to her breathing. I watched the dark room slowly turn gray. And I planned. Celeste loved breakfast in bed on Saturdays. It was one of her little rituals from our early marriage. Back when I thought her demands were cute and not just selfish. She would sleep late, stretch like a lazy cat, and announce that she was starving in that soft voice that used to make me smile. I would bring her yogurt, fruit, coffee, fresh juice, all arranged perfectly because she liked everything to look like a magazine ad. That Saturday, I made it exactly the way she liked. Greek yogurt with organic berries, fresh orange juice, coffee from beans so expensive I used to joke we should insure them. I set it all on the silver tray her mother gave us when we got married. Cloth napkin, small flower in a bud vase, coffee cup on the right, spoon folded on the side, and beside the coffee, the gift box. When I walked into the bedroom, Celeste was just opening her eyes. Her blonde hair was already arranged in that natural, messy way that took effort. She wore a silk nightgown that probably cost more than my first toolbox. Her face looked soft and beautiful and completely false to me now. "Good morning, beautiful," I said, setting the tray on her nightstand. "I found something interesting in your purse last night." Her eyes moved the box right away. Her whole body changed. Not much, just a little freeze, a little tightening around the mouth. Then she looked up at me. "Quinn," she whispered. "I can explain." I sat on the edge of the bed and smiled a calm smile. "Oh, I'm sure you can. But first, why don't you open it?" I added a little something. Her fingers shook as she untied the ribbon. The tissue paper made a dry, soft sound in the quiet room. Then she saw it, the plaster mold, my wedding ring around it like a silver joke. The blood drained from her face, so fast I thought she might faint. "Quinn, I said, keeping my voice light, almost friendly. I have to give Carter credit. He has a sense of humor. Also, apparently, access to professional casting supplies. That's not beginner work." She clutched the sheet to her chest like it could hide her from what she had done. "It's not what you think." I laughed softly. "No, it's exactly what I think. The only question is how long." She swallowed hard. "Please listen to me." "But here's the part one really love," I said, pointing to the ring. "My wedding ring fits him perfectly. Makes that real man line in the note seem very personal, doesn't it?" Tears filled her eyes right on cue. That used to destroy me. That used to make me drop any anger and rush straight into fixing things. Not anymore. I stood and straightened my shirt. "Don't worry about explaining. I have a lawyer to see." She reached for me. "Quinn, please. We can work this out." I stopped at the bedroom door and looked back. "You wanted a real man?" I said quietly. "Good. You're about to see what one does when he finally gets tired of being made a fool." Then I walked out. She called my name once, then twice. By the time I reached the stairs, her voice had turned shaky and desperate, but I was already gone. My lawyer was Nadia Park. She handled business contracts for my shop and had the sharpest mind of anyone I knew. Her office downtown was all glass, steel, and expensive silence. The place looked like it had been built to make weak people confess things they had not even done. That day, the office worked in my favor. Nadia sat behind her clean white desk and looked at the photos I had taken of the box and the mold and the note. Then she looked up at me. "Good Lord, Quinn." She kept it, I said, right in her purse, like a souvenir. Nadia leaned back in her chair, tapped one red nail on the desk, and gave me the kind of smile sharks probably give before they bite. "So," she said, "what are we trying to do here? Quiet divorce? Fast exit? Or do you want to leave a mark?" "I want options first." In a no-fault state, The affair itself won't blow up the divorce on its own, she said. But money, assets, public shame? Oh, we can do quite a lot with this. She pulled out a legal pad. Tell me everything about your finances. Joint accounts, I said, though I was the main earner until recently. The apartment is in both names, but the down payment came from my business account before we married. Good, she said. What about the business? Harper Restoration is mine. Started 3 years before I met her. Classic cars, old safes, metal work. It's done well, better than her job, until her last promotion. Nadia nodded, writing fast. We document everything. Bank records, card statements, spending tied to the affair, gifts, trips, anything already started. I slid a flash drive across her desk. Her eyebrows lifted. What's this? My friend Jace helped me recover deleted files from Celeste's laptop. She never changed the cloud password from our anniversary date. Nadia plugged it in. She started scrolling. 1 minute passed. Then another. Her eyes narrowed, then widened. Oh, wow, she said softly. These are explicit, time-stamped, going back for months. Hotel receipts, too, I said. Mostly the Ritz. Of course, Nadia murmured. Men like Carter never cheat cheaply. She sat back and folded her arms. Quinn, I need to ask directly. Are you looking for a clean break? Or do you want these two to choke on what they did? I thought about Celeste's face that morning. The fear, the lies, the way her first move was not sorrow, not honesty, not guilt, manipulation. She had looked at me with 8 years of marriage behind us and still chosen a lie. What kind of mark can we leave? I asked. Nadia smiled wider. The kind that lands in society pages, she said. The kind that makes Carter Vale's company stock wobble like a bad wheel. The kind that makes your cheating wife unforgettable for reasons she will hate. I looked out at the city through the tall office windows. Somewhere down there, Celeste was probably calling Carter, warning him, crying to him, trying to build some clever little rescue plan. They thought they were in control. They thought I would be embarrassed enough to stay quiet. I looked back at Nadia. Let's leave a mark. The process server Nadia hired was a retired cop named Burke. He looked like he had been made out of old stone and bad memories. Nadia chose him on purpose. You want impact? He had asked in our planning meeting. I can do impact. Impact turned out to mean poster board. On Monday afternoon, Burke walked into Celeste's PR office carrying divorce papers and a giant foam board mounted on an easel. On that foam board was a blown-up photo of the plaster mold with my wedding ring around it. Under the photo, in thick black letters, was a message Nadia had written. Enjoy the real thing, Celeste. Divorce papers enclosed. At exactly 2:30, Burke called me. I was in my workshop supposed to be rebuilding the engine of a '67 Mustang. But I had not touched the tool for half an hour because I was waiting for his call. Package delivered, Burke said. How bad? He laughed once. Bad enough. Whole office got front row seats. I could picture it. The glass lobby, the polished shoes, the whispered gossip. Celeste trying to snatch the board away while everyone stared. How did she take it? I asked. Like a deer in headlights, Burke said. Try to grab the poster. But I already had it on display. Cameras got everything. Her coworkers are going to have stories for years. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Celeste. I answered on the third ring. That thing is evidence, Celeste. You had no right. I had every right. It came from your purse. Her breathing turned sharp and shaky. Quinn, please. Please. You are ruining my life. No, I said. You did that when you started sleeping with Carter Vale and carrying his gifts like trophies. There was silence. Then her tone changed. Softer, sweeter. The voice she used when she wanted something. Honey, she whispered. We can still fix this. It was a mistake. A weak moment. 4 months of weak moments. That's not fair. No, I said. What you did wasn't fair. This is just visible. Can we meet? Please? Let's talk like adults. Adults don't cheat on their spouses and carry plastic copies of other men in designer handbags. I ended the call and set my phone face down on the tool bench. Then I turned back to the Mustang. The engine was frozen solid. It had not run in decades. But metal is honest. If something is broken, it tells you. If something can be fixed, it responds. You take your time. Use the right tools. Apply pressure where needed. Walk away when force will only make it worse. Some things can be rebuilt. Other things need to be torn apart and thrown out. Jace Nolan's electronics shop sat between a dry cleaner and a small noodle place. From outside, it looked like the kind of store people barely notice. Inside, it felt like a spy movie. Screens everywhere. Cables. Computer towers. Cameras. Half-built gadgets. Jace himself was all speed and angles. Thin as a rail and moving like he drank coffee instead of blood. "So," he said when I walked in, "how far are we taking this?" "As far as the truth goes." He grinned and started typing. I dug into Cartervale. Age 34. CEO of Nova Circuit. Company went public last year. Worth about $50 million on paper. Lives in a penthouse at Meridian Tower. Drives a black Tesla Model S Plaid. Likes expensive food, expensive whiskey, and married women. Women. More than one. "Oh, yeah." Jace tapped another screen. "Your wife is not special. She's just current. I found traces of at least 2 other affairs online over the past 3 years. Same pattern. Married. Blonde. Successful. He likes women who make him feel like a king for stealing them." I stared at the photos. Carter looked exactly like a tech magazine cover. Styled hair. White smile. Casual jacket that probably costs as much as rent. A face built for public lies. What about security? He handles most things himself. But he has a guy, Victor Soren, ex-military, driver, bodyguard, cleaner. Cleaner? The kind of guy companies use when they need trouble to go away without headlines. I said nothing for a moment. Jace kept going. "There's more. Your wife isn't just cheating. She's getting ready to leave." He pulled up another screen. There were bank applications, new credit cards, a lease application for an apartment downtown. I felt my jaw tighten. "She's moving money," he said. "Small amounts. Smart amounts. Nothing large enough to set off alarms. But over 2 months? About 15 grand. Our money. Your joint money, yes." So it was not only betrayal. It was planned escape. A quiet little theft wrapped inside an affair. I stared at the screen until the anger steadied into something clean and hard. "Jace," I said, "I need you to do something for me." He leaned back. "Legal? Maybe not all the way." His grin came right back. Those are my favorite words. The parking garage at Meridian Tower looked like a showroom for rich people with attention problems. Teslas, BMWs, Bentleys. A row of machines so expensive they stopped feeling real. Carter's black Tesla sat in a reserved space near the elevator, shining under bright white lights like it knew it was worth more than most people. I waited 20 minutes. Then he showed up. He was looking at his phone while walking, which told me too much. Men like Carter think nothing truly bad can happen to them in public. That belief makes them sloppy. Carter Vale. He looked up, annoyed first, then confused. "Do I know you?" "Quinn Harper. Celeste's husband." His face changed in stages. Surprise. Calculation. Then a smile so smug, I almost hit him right there. "Ah," he said. "The mechanic. Restoration specialist. I corrected. I fix broken things. Sometimes permanently." His hand moved toward his phone. I stepped closer. "I wouldn't." His eyes sharpened. "What do you want?" "I found your gift." The smile slipped a little. "The plaster mold," I said. "Very thoughtful. Strange hobby, but thoughtful." He tried to shrug. "Whatever Celeste told you." "She didn't need to tell me much. You documented everything nicely. Photos, hotels, notes, really detailed work." I pulled out my phone and showed him one of the recovered pictures. Him and Celeste in a hotel room. Her laughing. Him shirtless. Her wearing lingerie I had never seen before. "Good lighting," I said. "You should take up photography if the CEO thing fails." His face lost more color. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand consequences. I walked slowly around his Tesla, letting my fingers hover just above the paint. Beautiful machine. Fast. Expensive. Fragile in ways rich men never expect. Don't touch the car, he snapped. I looked at him and smiled. Relax. I'm admiring the craftsmanship. I appreciate quality work. That's why I was so curious about your little art project. That mold? Professional job. He clenched his jaw. You're crazy. Maybe, but I'm also very good at details. I pulled a small plastic bag from my pocket. Inside were metal shavings. Know what these are? I asked. He stared. Aluminum filings. Amazing what a few careful scratches can do to a car's resale value. Of course, that would be vandalism. And I'm a law-abiding man. Are you threatening me? No, I said. I'm educating you. There's a difference. The elevator dinged. A big man stepped out. Victor, just like Jace described. Thick neck, quiet eyes, a face with the kind of scars that come from hard jobs done in dark places. He looked at Carter first. Problem, sir? No problem, I said before Carter answered. We were just discussing hobbies. Casting, restoration, the cost of damaging things that don't belong to you. Victor stared at me, but I was already backing away toward the stairwell. Nice meeting you, Carter, I said. Give Celeste my regards. 3 days later, Carter got served, not as a defendant. Nadia was smarter than that. He got a subpoena demanding records about gifts, travel, and financial support connected to Celeste during the affair. Completely legal, completely humiliating, and impossible to hide from the company forever. Nadia called me into her office that morning. He wants to settle already, she said. Carter? Carter's lawyers. Also company lawyers, which means the corporation is sweating. What kind of settlement? The kind with a lot of zeros. I sat down across from her and looked out the window. Cars moved below like little toys. Somewhere in the city, Carter was probably raging into phones. What about Celeste? I asked. She hired Davidson and Klein, very expensive firm, which is interesting since she keeps saying she has no money. Carter's paying. My guess, too, Nadia said, which tells me they're working together, which tells me they're scared. My phone buzzed. A text from Jace. Check the news. I opened the business journal. Nova Circuit stock slips amid CEO scandal whispers. I looked up. Nadia gave me a cool little smile. Social media, she said. A beautiful, terrible machine. You didn't. Of course not, she said. But I can't control what certain people do in their free time with information they hear floating around. I almost laughed. Everything she did was sharp, legal, and just dirty enough to hurt. Then my phone rang. Celeste. I answered. Quinn, she said, already crying. Please stop. Carter's company is getting destroyed. That sounds stressful. This isn't just about him. There are innocent people at that company. I stared at the skyline. Were you thinking about innocent people when you were in hotel rooms with him? That's different. No, I said, it isn't. Silence. Then a softer sob. If you ever loved me, I did love you, I said, past tense. She inhaled sharply. That ended when I found another man's body cast in your purse. I hung up. Nadia waited until I put the phone down. So, she said, ready for the next move? What is it? She smiled. We go public. The press conference was on the courthouse steps. Nadia stood beside me in a navy suit sharp enough to cut glass. Cameras lined the sidewalk. Local news, business blogs, city reporters, a few people from tech media who smelled blood in the water. Nadia stepped to the microphones first. My client, Quinn Harper, is here to address false rumors, financial misconduct, and a pattern of private behavior that has become very public. Then she stepped back. I moved forward. I wore my best suit. Clean tie, calm face, steady hands. 3 weeks earlier, I would have hated every second of it. Now I just felt clear. 3 weeks ago, I said, I discovered that my wife of 8 years was having an affair. I did not find out through a text or a lipstick mark or a hotel bill. I found out through a gift, a plaster mold of her lover's private part. The note inside described me as not being a real man. The crowd stirred immediately. Reporters leaned in. Good. Now, I could have handled this quietly, I said. I could have filed for divorce, split our life apart in silence, and moved on. But then I discovered this affair had been going on for months. I discovered money from our shared life was being moved into secret accounts. I discovered company resources may have been used to support the relationship. At that point, silence stopped feeling honorable. It started feeling stupid. I held up a folder. These are records, bank statements, credit card charges, hotel receipts, photos, all gathered legally through the discovery process. They show a pattern that goes far beyond a private affair. They show planning, secrecy, and financial deception. One reporter raised her hand and called out, "Are you naming Carter Vale as the other man?" "I am naming behavior," I said. "The documents speak clearly enough." Another reporter asked, "Why do this publicly?" "Because powerful people count on shame to keep their victims quiet. Because men like this count on normal husbands being too embarrassed to fight back. Because truth belongs in daylight." A few people nodded. Cameras kept flashing. Then someone asked the question everybody wanted. "Mr. Harper, what did you do with the plaster mold?" That one almost made me smile. "I donated it," I said, "to the Museum of Broken Relationships in Los Angeles." The reporters laughed. I kept going. I sent it with my wedding ring, which fitted perfectly. I thought future generations might appreciate a modern lesson in arrogance. That got full laughter. Even Nadia looked pleased. By evening, every local station was leading with the story. My phone lit up nonstop. News clips, texts, people I had not heard from in years, suddenly wanting to check in. Carter's company stock fell harder. The internet had a field day. Carter was no longer the genius CEO. He was the plaster guy. The settlement offer arrived 2 days later. Carter's lawyers, Celeste's lawyers, 2 corporate attorneys, all packed into Nadia's conference room, looking like they had been dragged there after a fire. The number on the paper was huge, ridiculous, enough money to make plenty of people stay quiet forever. "Mr. Vale is prepared to be very generous," said the lead attorney, a woman made entirely of frost and control, "in exchange for a full retraction, a confidentiality agreement, and the return of all intimate materials." I read the number twice, then set the paper down. "That's a lot of money," I said. "It reflects the seriousness of the situation. It's missing something." The woman looked at me. "What?" "An apology." The room went still. Nadia did not move. I liked that about her. "Mr. Harper," the attorney said carefully, "my client is making a substantial financial offer. I don't want his money." I leaned forward and looked right at her. "I want Carter Vale in front of cameras apologizing to me, to his shareholders, to his employees, and to every person dragged through this mess because he could not keep his ego in his pants." "That is not going to happen." "Then neither is a deal." Celeste's lawyer tried next. "My client is willing to give up all claims to marital assets if you'll agree to discretion." I turned to him slowly. "Your client gave up those claims when she started documenting her affair in high definition." He opened his mouth, but I kept going. "The judge can decide what she deserves. Based on what I've seen, that should be enough bus fare to leave town." The room tightened. "You're being unreasonable," one of them said. "No," I said, "I'm being exact." Nadia stood. "So, did I?" "We're done here," she said. As we walked out, one of the attorneys called after us, "They'll try other methods." Nadia pushed the elevator button. "Of course they will," she said softly. I smiled. "Good." She glanced at me. "You have something else." "Jace has been busy." The final piece came on a Thursday. Jace showed up at my workshop with coffee in one hand and a grin on his face. "Remember when I said Carter had a type?" He spread photos across my work table. Different women, different hotels. Same pattern. All married, all polished, all pulled into his orbit and then thrown away. "How many?" I asked. "7 I can prove over 3 years." I looked over the photos one by one. Women with careers, rings on fingers, smiles in public, ruined in private. There's more, Jay said. Victor has been cleaning up after Carter for years. Money problems, complaints, quiet payoffs, things that disappeared. How did you find it? Victor keeps records. Tough guy, not a great digital thinker. I looked at the evidence and knew I could blow Carter completely apart if I wanted. But total destruction is tricky. Sometimes the threat is stronger than the blast. Set up a meeting, I said, with Carter and Victor, where? Somewhere public, somewhere nice, somewhere with people close enough to listen. The meeting happened at Riverside Park near the fountain, where families fed ducks on weekends. Carter arrived first. He looked awful, not physically broken. Worse, he looked scared. His expensive calm was gone. His shoulders were tight. His eyes were tired. The last few weeks had stripped the shine right off him. Victor stood a little behind him, alert and silent. Mr. Harper, Carter said as I walked up, I hope you're ready to be reasonable. I am always reasonable. I sat on a bench. Behind us, a little girl threw bread to ducks while her mother laughed. Normal life moving around ugly people. I know about the others, I said. Carter's face changed instantly. What others? Jenna Morris from Portland. Kayla Reed from Seattle. Monica Diaz from Phoenix. Should I keep going? Victor shifted. I held up a hand. I wouldn't. We're being recorded. Carter's jaw tightened. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone and played a short audio clip. Carter's voice. Clear. Cocky. Talking about married women like they were trophies on a shelf. He looked sick. 7 women, Carter. I said. 7 marriages. 7 little games. My wife was not special. She was just next. He swallowed. What do you want? I want you gone. His eyes narrowed. Gone. Resign from Nova Circuit. Sell your stock. Leave the city. Take your fixer with you. That's insane. You built your power on lies and intimidation, I said. Now you get to lose it the same way. Victor spoke for the first time. You're making a mistake, Mr. Harper. I looked right at him. No, my only mistake was waiting as long as I did. Then I stood. You have 24 hours. After that, everything goes public. Every affair, every cover-up, every dirty little record your boy here thought no one would see. Carter stood too. His face was pale and angry and frightened all at once. And if I refuse? I stepped closer, just enough for him to hear the last part clearly. Then you find out what a real man does when he's done being reasonable. Then I walked away. I did not look back. Carter Vale resigned the following Monday morning. Personal reasons. New opportunities. That was the official story. The tech press told the real one between the lines. Nova Circuit stock stopped falling. Then it slowly began to recover as investors realized the poison had left the building. Celeste's divorce moved fast after that. Without Carter paying her lawyers, her legal team shrank. Without money hidden away, her options shrank too. She accepted a settlement that left her with enough to start over somewhere else. I kept the apartment, the cat, my business, and something bigger than all of that, my self-respect. The last time I saw Celeste was on a Tuesday evening. I opened the apartment door and found her standing there with a face I almost did not recognize. She was only 32, but she looked older. The last few months had carved lines around her eyes that no cream could hide. The careful polish was gone. She looked like someone who had spent too long trying to hold together a life that deserved to fall apart. Can I come in? She asked. I don't think that's smart. Please. 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She walked into the living room slowly, like a ghost visiting a house where she used to live. The cat stared at her from the chair and did not move. That felt right. She looked around at the room, at the things we once chose together. And for a second, I wondered if she remembered how ordinary and happy our early life had been before she started needing bigger things to feel alive. I came to apologize, she said. I said nothing. For the affair, she whispered. For the lies. For taking the money. For all of it. I leaned against the doorway. Apology noted. She stared at me. That's it. What did you expect? Her eyes filled. Something human. I almost laughed. Instead, I looked at her for a long moment. You lost the right to ask for my humanity when you planned your escape while still sleeping in my bed. She flinched. It was a mistake. No, it was a choice. Then another choice. Then another. Hotel after hotel. Lie after lie. Transfer after transfer. You didn't slip. You built this. I was unhappy. Then you leave. You tell the truth. You don't carry another man in your purse and steal from your husband while smiling at dinner. Her mouth trembled. I didn't think you'd fight back. That was your biggest mistake. She looked down. I could almost see the memory playing inside her head. The quiet husband. The man who worked with his hands. The one who made breakfast and stayed steady and fixed things. The one she thought would never become a problem. You proved me wrong, she said softly. No, I answered. I prove actions have consequences. A tear slid down her cheek. I did love you, Quinn. I shook my head once. Maybe you loved how I made your life easier. Maybe you loved being taken care of. Maybe you loved me once. But by the end, no, not in any way that mattered. She stood there for a few more seconds, maybe hoping I would crack. Maybe hoping the old Quinn would step forward and rescue her from the wreckage she made. He did not. Goodbye, Quinn, she said. Goodbye, Celeste. She left. I never saw her again. 6 months later, I was back in my workshop doing what I understand best. A 1969 Camaro engine sat open in front of me, half rebuilt after 30 years of sitting dead in a barn. Mel does not lie. If something is worn, you can see it. If something is cracked, you can measure it. If something deserves saving, you know by how it responds when you treat it right. Jace walked in carrying coffee. Heard from Nadia lately? He asked. She sent a Christmas card. He laughed. Business booming? Apparently a lot of people want justice more than closure. Jace sipped his coffee and leaned against the bench. Carter moved to Silicon Valley. Started another company. But investors checked his past this time. He's on a very short leash. I tightened the bolt and listened to the metal settle. Think he learned anything? Jace asked. Some people learn. I said, some just get better at hiding. He watched me work for a moment. What about you? What about me? Any regrets? That was a fair question. Did I regret the public shame? Did I regret the press conference? Did I regret turning my broken marriage into a lesson nobody in this city would forget? I wiped my hands on a rag and looked at the Camaro. Do you know the difference between restoration and revenge? I asked. Jace grinned. Here we go. Restoration is about bringing something back to what it was. Revenge is about making sure some things stay broken. He nodded slowly. I looked around my shop. The tools. The half-finished projects. The smell of oil and steel and honest work. This was my life now. Cleaner. Quieter. No designer lies. No secret hotel bills. No cruel little boxes hidden in purses. No regrets, I said. He smiled. A few minutes later, I turned the key on the Camaro. The engine caught on the first try. It purred low and smooth like a big cat waking from sleep. I stood there listening to it, feeling that deep mechanic satisfaction that comes when every part finally lines up the way it should. Justice, I had learned, was not all that different from engine work. It needed patience, the right tools, a clear head, and total attention to detail. If you rushed it, you made a mess. If you did it right, the result was beautiful. My phone buzzed on the workbench. Unknown number. I picked it up and read the message. Mr. Harper, I got your number from a friend. My husband is cheating. I need help. Are you available? For a second, I just stared. Then I smiled. Not because pain is funny. Not because broken hearts are a business. But because I knew exactly how that message felt. The shaking hands. The hot face. The moment when truth enters your life like a knife and nothing will ever be soft again. I typed back, do you want to meet? Then I set the phone down, listened to the steady purr of the Camaro, and got back to work. Because in the end, everyone deserves the truth. And some people deserve justice. The kind that hits slow. The kind that hurts deep. The kind that makes sure they never forget the day they mistook a quiet man for a weak one. And if they ever ask where that kind of justice comes from, the answer is simple. It comes from men like Quinn, Men who watch closely. Men who stay calm. Men who know how to hear the engine before it blows. Men who build, repair, and when needed, tear something apart so completely it can never lie to anyone again. That was my gift. That was my revenge. And that was the night I finally became the real man they laughed at for too long.